Hi everyone, and welcome back to the Manse. I hope you're all well and finding ways of surviving in these strange times. Um, I know my beard probably needs cutting, but I feel less inclined to do it. And I know my hair needs a cut, but I may have to get Adam to do that a bit later. We're all finding ways to cope. This is the next Sunday reflection in our series, The New Normal. This week, thinking about church on Sundays or all days. I'm delighted that Christine Spurgeon is going to do a reading from the Gospel for us this morning, and I look forward to others volunteering each week. So here's Christine reading from John 5, 1 to 18.
After this, there was a festival of the Jews, and Jesus went up to Jerusalem. Now in Jerusalem, by the sheep gate, there is a pool, called in Hebrew Bethesda, which has 5 porticos. In these lay many invalids, blind, lame, and paralyzed. One man was there who had been ill for 38 years. When Jesus saw him lying there, and knew that he had been there a long time, he said to him, "Do you want to be made well?" The sick man answered him, "Sir, I have no one to put me into the pool when the water is stirred up. And while I am making my way, someone else steps down ahead of me." Jesus said to him, "Stand up, take your mat and walk." At once the man was made well, and he took up his mat and began to walk. Now that day was a Sabbath. So the Jews said to the man who had been cured, "It is the Sabbath, it is not lawful for you to carry your mat." But he answered them, "The man who made me well said to me, 'Take up your mat and walk.'" They asked him, "Who is the man who said to you, 'Take it up and walk'?" Now the man who had been healed did not know who it was, for Jesus had disappeared in the crowd that was there. Later Jesus found him in the temple and said to him, "See, you have been made well. Do not sin anymore, so that nothing worse happens to you." The man went away and told the Jews that it was Jesus who had made him well. Therefore the Jews started persecuting Jesus because he was doing such things on the Sabbath. But Jesus answered them, "My Father is still working, and I also am working." For this reason the Jews were seeking all the more to kill him, because he was not only breaking the Sabbath, but was also calling God his own Father, thereby making himself equal to God.
Thank you, Christine. On first hearing, we don't think of this story as involving conflict, but Jesus' actions, healing on the Sabbath, brought him into direct disagreement with the religious and political officials. It was not only not the done thing, but it was a major challenge to Sabbath observance, that of keeping the Sabbath holy. If you didn't keep the Sabbath day, you were going against what it meant to be part of the community. I'm pretty sure that we don't feel exactly the same way about Sundays. However, this one day can become the complete focus of our spiritual life. It is the day we gather, the day we worship, the day we celebrate Holy Communion, the day we reach out and care for each other. Just last week, as we thought about church as a building or the people, we recognized that the church is not a building, yet the building can start to dominate our being as church. We also know that our faith and spiritual life is not just for Sundays. But if we're not careful, this one day can start to feel like the one day we experience God. Now, folk at St. Paul's have seen this wonderful picture from the LICC before. That's the London Institute for Contemporary Christianity. But it's worth sharing again as a reminder of where we are church. Our weekly series asks us to consider the new normal. Sunday worship in a church building is our default to some degree. Jesus prompts us to consider and to become a new normal, as in the picture, where we can care and heal with a phone call on a Monday, where we can worship God in the garden on a Tuesday,
where we pray as we hoover on a Wednesday,
as you rest in God's presence on a Thursday, as you work for justice from your office on Friday, as we keep our distance from each other to protect our neighbour's health on a Saturday, as we take time to watch and listen and reflect together on a Sunday, or any combination of the above and more. Much of this we do, but it is worth being reminded in God's new normal for us that God is always with us, every second of every day. Our faith is not restricted to certain times or places. I wonder, does this feel like a conflict for us as it was for Jesus? I'm not sure. It can certainly be a break from what is traditional and may even feel counterintuitive to us at times. My dad grew up as a strict Baptist and spent Sundays going to 3 or 4 services with Sunday school in between. This tradition has faded away, but it is easy to find ourselves in that mental place of Sundays being church day. For some Christians around the world, practicing their faith is most definitely a conflict. They still face the kind of oppression that limits their worship times and places. This is true for Christians in China, where churches are regularly raided, church leaders detained, and children under 18 banned from attending. Following Christ every day under these circumstances is very hard. But interestingly, this pressure on their faith means many find any spare second to live it, even in secret. In the unsettling times that you and I are now experiencing, we need the hope of God's constant presence as things change so erratically around us. We need the strength and sight to embrace the positive changes and to learn from the new experiences that we are facing, even when these are forced upon us by a deadly pandemic. Our faith is alive and vital every day. It is not unlawful for us to express and live our faith every day and in countless creative ways. Certainly, the pandemic makes it more of a challenge to do things as we've always done them. And these times ask of us to be creative in how we live out our faith. These times also remind us of self-care. Part of our spiritual life is physical and mental rest, giving us the strength to face each new day. And that is more true for us now as we face all these changes. When we do eventually return to some semblance of the daily life we remember, we will be changed. I wonder how St. Paul's and South Croydon United Church will live God's new normal of church every day and in every way. I pray that we will bring these creative ways of reaching each other that we've learnt these new ways of supporting each other, new ways of worshipping, new sight of injustices to challenge, that in the new normal that we will become and are becoming, our faith in the Easter Christ will be alive and vital every day. Now, there's a lot in these reflections to pick over, and lots of thoughts that come up that it's really good for us to discuss. And so we're starting now a gentle discussion group to take these reflections and dig a little deeper. And we're going to be holding those via Zoom on Fridays, 7:30 p.m. in the evening, for about an hour. We're also trying to find ways to make sure that those without the technology can be involved. So we're going to try recording some of them and try giving a bit of a news sheet with some of the information and some of the questions and ideas that have come up from those studies, and make sure that those get sent round to people. Next Sunday, in the New Normal series, we're exploring the church for some or for all. So there's something else to mull on as time ticks by. I wish you every blessing in the week ahead. I know times are really difficult for some. Some are coping, some in any way they can. And I really pray God's blessing for you during this coming week, and look forward to chatting with you and seeing you during the week ahead. Take care.